Alzheimer's disease, and it slows the brain. So you want to avoid aluminum deodorants. Even some of those deodorant stones are made out of, they're actually aluminum salts. You know, just because something says it's natural does not mean it's good. So what you got to do is use good sense and realize that you get aluminum all the time in your life by cans and stuff, so you don't want to add any more aluminum. It's very weakening to the body. Another common cause of poor dowsing is the mercury silver fillings. Those things are so bad for you. They are one of the primary causes of chronic fatigue syndrome and chronic candidiasis. And I suggest everyone get them removed by a dentist that knows how to remove them in a safe manner. If you get them removed too rapidly or without a rubber dam in your mouth, you can get very weak by mercury poisoning. But you should get all your fillings removed. And you should also be careful, like carpet formaldehyde. Mobile homes have formaldehyde in the walls. There are many poisons in our environment that will make one unable to douse because your body is too weak to give an appropriate muscle response. Now, in other tapes, we discuss species of people, and I will tell you that of species in people, there are some types that will not douse correctly, and a Nephilim soul type will not douse correctly because their lower self, they've got a basic lie to their whole system. Animal man can generally douse fairly well, except about esoteric matters, and sons can usually learn to douse with no problem. Other soul types, the minor types, can douse usually. Dowsing is very primary to people. It's very easy to do. It's been done through all generations in every country in some form. Okay, now, if you're wanting to learn to douse and say you've worried about your diet, you've had plenty of water, you're rested, you might want to try to deep breathe. And balancing the chakras is very good. There are various forms to do this. Tai Chi, certain exercises that balance the right and left hemisphere of the brain, like crawling, that sort of thing, marching, singing. I find that singing is a very good thing to do just before dowsing. So anyway, the reason is you need lung prana, air prana. So what you want to do, if you want to build your air prana, you hold your right fist tight. Got it? You hold your left hand out and you stand up on your tiptoes. And by standing on your tiptoes, and then you take deep breaths and you hold them, and then you expel them like this. Except breathe in through your nose. I did that wrong. As you breathe out, you go down, but you step up on your toes with the in-breath. You hold it, say, for the count of 10. You hold it for the count of 10, and you expel it on the count of 10. Many people hold bad air in their lungs. So you go. You want to make sure that you get all of the air out. And that's primary. By doing that, you build your air prana and you douse better. For nerve prana, the primary cause of poor nerve prana is normally entity possession, but it can also be from loud music, irritating noises, electromagnetic pollution, a sound of a clock radio near the bed. You shouldn't have any electromagnetic things near your bed where you're resting. You shouldn't have TVs, you shouldn't have telephones, answering machines, you shouldn't have clock radios. They should be at least 6 to 8 feet from you. If you don't, you're going to get weak nerve prana, and you're going to get ill as well. So you want to keep your nerve prana up, and your lung prana, your air prana up, and your blood prana. Your blood prana has to do with the quality of the foods that you take in and the quality of one's elimination. Every person, and doctors will deny this, and they'll say I'm crazy, but I know what I'm talking about. Every person ought to have a bowel movement every day, and a good one. You should not, go a day without a bowel movement because our environment is too poisoned. The air we breathe, the food we eat, everything is poisoned. We've got to cleanse ourselves. So the cleansing methods will raise your blood prana and make you a better dowser. So if you want to be a good dowser, you should drink a lot of water to purify your kidneys. You should have your bowels cleansed every day. And adding a lot of fiber to the diet is certainly helpful. Or you could take a fiber supplement, occasional, a little bit of herbal laxative. But you should not let yourself get toxic. I don't think enemas are that great, personally. I don't think colonics are necessary. Absolutely, the best form of colonic would be to take a big dose of Epsom salts, laxative, in a glass of water and drink it, because it pulls the water into the colon and flushes it out, and it's like a colonic from the neck down. And so there's no point to go through all that kinky trauma of a colonic when you can do it with a little Epsom salts, and it's cheaper to boot. So you want to flush your system. Another thing is your skin. The elimination organs that you possess include your lungs, your bowels, your skin. So you've got to make sure, and your kidneys, of course, you've got to make sure that your skin is cleansed every day. I think it's very important to take a really good bath every day to cleanse the toxicities that come through the skin. Particularly if one is ill, because the breakdown of poisons will get on the skin, and to get those toxins off is real important. Using a rough sponge or a rough wash rag to get the particles off the skin is very good and invigorating. And so cleansing the skin is of primary importance. The rejuvenation of life force through the body, through methods such as chiropractic, and also some of the methods, Reiki, Touch for Health. There are many, many methods of this type that work. Massage is the same way. Rolfing. All these things help open the acupuncture meridians. And acupuncture is another one, obviously, acupressure. These things will make you a better dowser because they tend to open up the nerve pathways and the life force pathways so that your muscles will react in a normal fashion. The only thing is, be cautious, because if the practitioner has negative energy, a negative thought form, an entity, then you will get an impression of that in that part of your body. And sometimes when they push, they actually will release an entity, but then it may jump on a different part. So you may get shifting of symptoms. But these physical methods are very helpful. I personally think the Japanese furo idea, it's like a hot tub, except the water's not moving all the time. It's just real hot water in a real deep tub up to your neck. And you run that water, and you can put herbs in it. You get in there, and it makes you sweat. Your head's just dripping with sweat. And boy, it'll make a cold or an infection, a bronchitis. It'll throw it off in 1 or 2 days when it would have taken a month otherwise. Because most infectious organisms, cancers, viruses, all things, they survive very poorly in a high temperature. They can't take it. So you'll throw them off. But I don't think you ought to keep them in. There's a furo company that says, oh, leave the water in. I'm not a big fan of hot tubs, because by leaving the water in, you get in there, and anybody that gets in there is going to put their elemental energies of negation in that water, and you get in there and you merge with anybody who's been in that hot tub. So I would not recommend sharing a hot tub with anyone else. And the furo idea is better because you can dump it out. It uses about the same amount of water as a bathtub, and you can dump it out. So you have your furo, you cleanse your skin, so you've gotten yourself purified of your urinary tract, your bowels, you have your skin cleared, you do your deep breathing. Like I said, 10 breaths in, breathe into the count of 10, hold it for a count of 10, and then expel for a count of 10. So then you've got a good cleansing of the breath, and then you watch your diet. Then you ought to be able to douse very well. Unless you have an entity. Now, if you have an entity, eventually you will be able to douse even with an entity. But the tapes that have been made by Right Hand Press have a lot to do with the clearing of entity possessions. One doesn't have to be a priest to be an exorcist. In fact, we should all be exorcists because our world is full of disharmonious energies, entities from many planes, many dimensions, many densities, and other worlds. And a lot of the alien beings come in through different dimensional doorways, and they are in the same space, but they bother you. They're in your space, and you need to remove them. And it can be removed by a system known, or many systems, known as radionics is the general catch-all term. Radionic dowsing. Radionic dowsing is a method that one is able to remove certain energies or add certain energies through the use of absentee-type healing. Well, let me tell you, there are two types of radionics. And these radionic methods are composed of either what could be called light radionics or dark radionics. These radionic methods, the light radionics is based on the primary idea of adding an energy. You know, for instance, say you're missing a protein in your diet or something, then you would add a protein. Say if you don't have enough red in your aura, it's like shining a red light on your picture. That would be a type of light radionics. Whereas dark radionics has to do with the elimination of dark energies that have infiltrated our world illegally. And that's probably what we ought to discuss in the next portion of this tape. Before we get started on dark radionics, its primary thing that one must know is that when you hold the pendulum over a chart, you sometimes have to get it moving a little bit to get your muscles limbered up, and then you kind of hold it and it'll move on its own. It's like you can start swinging it and then just let it rest and then it'll go on its own. That's to get your muscles in line. One way you can get yourself trained on testing, like you can say, what is my yes and what is my no? Like you can take your pendulum and say, all right, I want it to swing in a right-hand circle for a yes, and I want it to swing a left-hand circle for no. Or I want it to swing in a right-hand angle for yes, I want it to swing in a left-hand angle for no. And so that way you've got a program in your computer, in your subconscious computer. What you need to do is to put the program in there so your pendulum then will then follow what you have installed in your mental computer. So say you've got your program, you know that you want your pendulum to point to something on a chart or give you a yes or no signal. You can say, okay, do I have an entity in my auric field? And it could say yes. All right, so then what are you going to do about it? Well, one of the primary things about clearing of entities, which is the primary aspect of the dark radionics system that I wanted to talk to you about, is that every entity, every negative energy, even a hate thought, say somebody just can't stand you at work, that thought has a geometric shape. Everything has a geometric shape, and it can be translated into a numerical formula. Now, in some of the other tapes that we have done, that Right Hand Press has produced, we discuss the mystical meaning of numbers, the mystical meaning of numbers and other symbols. And we're not going to go into great detail on this tape regarding that, because the purpose of this tape is to show you how to do the dark radionics and how to dowse. But you might be interested in procuring one of those tapes just for a more in-depth explanation, or perhaps one of the books about it. So you know then, we're going to accept certain concepts here. That number one, the concept is that dowsing is just your body's subconscious, which is in tune with your universal mind, giving your muscles a signal that is magnified by a dowsing tool, such as the pendulum. So it's magnified by the dowsing tool, such as the pendulum, and then it will make a certain pattern movement that will give you a clue as to what is wrong or what to do about it, whatever you want to know. By the use of charts or diagrams, one then can go about clearing the disorder. So, in order to know the numerical pattern which represents a geometric shape, like you could use cubes, you could use all the Pythagorean solids, you could use pyramids, all these shapes and stack them up, but it would be very cumbersome. It's much easier to use symbols. So say you have a chart such as the one I have here. You can just douse what the number is. It might be 3, 3, 3, 7, 8, 8, 2, 1. So you know the pattern. You know the pattern then, and it may be very slow when you first start. You might have to get the pendulum swinging, and then you'll say, okay, what's the first number? 6. If you speak into a tape recorder, it's much easier to do this. So you'll say the first number is 6. The second one's a 9. Then maybe you'll have a decimal point. Then you'll maybe have a 4. Then you might have a new line. That means you start down below. Or you might underline the next number. And you might end up with a pattern such as the one I'm going to write here. I'll write it below first. You might have something like 7, 2, 2. It's not very good 2, is it? 1, 1, 6, dot 4 that's underlined. So say you have a pattern like that, and say that would be a disharmonious pattern that needs to be removed from you. And you don't